So this is a view of the vegetable garden, and you can see my hoop house in there. And this front part here is where we have our chickens this year, but that's going to be new garden space next year. So this is the main gate to get in. And so it is the first week of August. And I'm going to show you how much everything has grown since my last video, which was in June, I think. So first, look how tall that sunflower is. So this part of my garden had a really rough start, but it is doing pretty good now. It is a mix of all sorts of things. So in the back here, that's the corn, and it's a sweet corn that we can just eat fresh. And then I have all of these flowers that come up as weeds, but I keep them because that's what the bees like. And then this whole part here is winter squash. So like a variety of pumpkins and squash. Let me see if I can get in there. Oh, here's one. And so I kind of panicked because the squash wasn't growing in June. So I planted other things in this area too. So I have some potatoes. And then, let me climb through. I also planted green beans because I figured at least one of the things will grow. So here's a squash. And then I have green beans. These are green beans. And then this is a potato. And then inside here is all the squash. And they're all kind of mixed up. And it's okay if I can't harvest the green beans because I can harvest them as dried shelling beans. So it's not like a huge loss. There's a potato. We might not get big potatoes, but we can at least get like potatoes for soup and stuff. So yeah, that's this part of the garden. And then to my side here is the raspberries. And I have been picking these for the last few weeks. We've had so many raspberries. Alright, I just climbed out and I wanted to show these are some zinnias, and then I also have amaranths. I try to grow a lot of flowers because the bees like them. So over here I have some potatoes and more potatoes, and this had potatoes but we just harvested it. I'll include a picture of what we got from this. Is a 4-foot by 4-foot bed. And then covered here, these are carrots. Carrots do really well if you plant them midsummer. And they get really sweet when winter comes. And down here, this is chamomile. And then I have zucchini. And these have gotten really big. And kind of so I'm climbing through. This is the kind of time of year that I don't have paths anymore. This is my newest beehive. I don't know if you can hear all the buzzing. Their entry is pointing out. Grapes. And I have this umbrella in my garden for the bees because to protect them from really intense sun. So I've got more squash. I planted that like in desperation, but it's doing good. And then back behind the hoop house, here's the hoop house. I've got some kohlrabi. I've harvested most of it. I've got some beets. And then growing up this trellis. It was snow peas. I'm still getting snow peas, but also is a green bean. And the green bean has reached the top. Alright, so now inside of the hoop house, there's good stuff in here and there's bad stuff in here. So this is my good stuff over here. So these are my cool tomatoes. Let me see if I can find one. These are so pretty. And they're red inside. They're really good. And I have this volunteer plant. It's a type of squash, and unfortunately, I think it's a spaghetti squash, which we don't like. But look, there it is. And of course it's doing really well because it's a spaghetti squash. And then this is all holy basil, and it's a mix of holy basil and Italian basil. And then here I have tomatoes for canning. And let me see if I can show you this. I just solved a mystery the other day. So look, they're all tomatoes. They're all about the same variety. Super pretty, really good, really good. And then it's like, oh, they look like crap down there. And it's because I have this stuff growing. I've ripped it all out, but it's like oxalis. It looks kind of like a clover. This is it. It's not a clover. And it releases compounds or chemicals in the soil that actually inhibit the growth of other plants. So I have been spending all my time ripping these out and then throwing them away. But that it has been growing really heavy all right here. So that's why these tomatoes look like crap. And it's also been affecting my peppers over here. My peppers look awful. So here's two cantaloupe plants. Oh look, there's some growing back already. See, I have to pull that out. But I just recently planted kale here. I don't know how it's gonna do, but my peppers look terrible. Normally this time of year they're this tall, but they just haven't grown, and it's because it had that oxalis weed growing. This one is trying to grow a pepper. This is supposed to be a full-size bell pepper, so it's kind of like sort of desperate at this point, I think, to spread its seeds. So it's a really crappy pepper year, but at least I know why things aren't growing well in here, and I'm going to fix it for next year. But in the center here, fortunately, my cucumbers weren't affected because the oxalis was not growing in the center. And I also have cantaloupe. And the cucumbers are doing really good. Let me see if I can find them for you. This one. The only tough things with the cucumbers is we've had such cold weather that it's hard to get the bees to come in here to pollinate. Alright, so let me show you some less depressing stuff. Alright, so we just left the hoop house, and look at these onions. They're not huge, but I'm impressed. Look at this one. These are Walla Wallas. They're sweet onions. There's another random squash. I have some beets planted for fall time. And over here, this trellis here, let me back up so you can see. It was snow peas, and now it's scarlet runner beans. And the scarlet runner beans are starting to grow. And then I've got lavender, all the things for the bees. More flowers, some calendula. And look at all of these pretty flowers. So most of these, not the calendula, but these and the other ones I'm growing, make really good dried flowers. And so we have some lettuce, rutabaga, more onion. This is kale. It's just a bunch of kale that I've been eating as baby kale. This is lettuce that's gone to seed. So I'll collect its seeds. More kale. And then across the way, we have beets. The beets have done well this year so far. All different colors. So there's white beets, red beets. This is kind of actually like a striped beet. And this is a solid red beet. But I have quite a few. So that's good. And the leaves look pretty good. And then I have little turnips growing, Swiss chard, more rutabaga. Got some little cabbages, but these purple cabbages are ready for harvest. Got solid heads on them. And then in the next row, I've got peas for the fall. And then some beets for the fall. And a bunch of kale. And then more onion, kind of here and there. This chamomile. And this on the edge here by the meat chickens. There's various herbs that come back every year. Like this is the mint. And then I have fennel. And then some flowers. And that is my big rutabaga. I mean, not rutabaga, this is rhubarb. I always get them confused because they just start with R. And over here I've got dill. And some little kohlrabis. And this is chicory. So I'm hoping to collect the roots and make roasted chicory. It's like a coffee substitute. And over here I have tomatoes. Look at these cute little tomatoes. They don't get any bigger than this. So you can see they're starting to ripen. And then with the tomatoes, I have tomatillos. They're so cool. They're actually really easy to grow if you wanted to grow something new in your garden. And then over here, I've got my pretty cosmos, and then more kohlrabi, some kale, and then these are like mini sunflowers. They're gonna open up soon. There's my chickens. The chickens have been getting all of my garden weeds. All right, let me show you the extra bonus garden. Oh, this is flax. So out here I have potatoes planted, and the deer have eaten them a little bit. Not too bad though. And then this is where I have some garlic growing, and everything else that's growing is beans. So I have snap beans to eat fresh and to can. And then I have some shelling beans. I will go in there and show you. And I have onions too. But I've got, and I have some beets too. I ran out of room, so everything's in here. So these are yellow green beans. just to eat fresh. And then through here, I don't know if you can see that. These are beans that we're gonna let grow and mature, and I'm gonna shell them and we'll eat them as like dried beans, like in bean soup. Here's a good one. And then over here against this wall, those are all beets. And then there's still some garlic that I have to harvest. But I've already harvested most of the other garlic. So yeah, this used to be a chicken pen. So there's a lot of good nitrogen in the soil from the chickens, their manure. So that's pretty much it. Here, let me get a view of the whole thing. It is so pretty. It's fun to be out here. The bees love it. There's like a constant buzzing sound when you're in the garden.